1917. We reach you from the Neva River, here with the remains of Grigory Rasputin, former advisor to the autocracy, killed in a patriotic attempt to save Russia. Unrest is growing due to the ongoing war, and the people are cold, hungry, and angry.
Come February, workers, women and soldiers are revolting. Thousands of us span the streets, bloody nicks, in denial over the whole crisis, and tensions are growing. Here's the situation at the Putilov Steelworks.
This young worker's on his way to Tauride Palace. In an attempt to restore order to Russia, a provisional committee is formed of Duma members. By March 1st, they take power as the provisional government, and the Tsar persuaded abdicates. So Nick, any comments?
Нет.
From this point on, Russia was in a state of dual authority.
The Soviets had power without authority. The provisional government, authority without power.
Thanks, Kerensky. This was further reinforced by the military reforms issued by Soviet Order No. 1, declaring the Soviets' influence over the military. Later that month, the return of Menshevik Tsereteli prompted Soviet collaboration with the provisional government and the development of Russia's policy of revolutionary defensism. Come April 3rd, Lenin returned from hiding in Finland. That'll be him now.
The next day, I presented my April theses to the Social Democrats at the Tauride Palace. I outlined my radical ideas that denounced the government due to its capitalist nature and commitment to the imperialist war. Initially, my ideas were ridiculed by the masses, claiming they were ravings of a madman.
However, after a note published by Minister of Foreign Affairs Milyukov stating Russia's commitment to a decisive victory in the war was leaked towards the end of April, angered people protested on the streets, and many turned in favor of Lenin's anti-war policies. This mass discontent led Ministers Gukov and Milyukov to resign shortly after. A coalition government was then formed of select socialists and conservatives. A lack of military engagement led to an all-time low in soldier morale. To combat this, Kerensky saw it as necessary to initiate a renewed offensive on the southwestern front of Galicia, Austria, led by General Brusilov. With Brusilov as the newly appointed commander-in-chief, things did not go to plan. 30 kilometers were gained, but 40,000 men were lost. It was when the Germans arrived that Russia, having lost many of its elite units, was sent into a chaotic retreat, with thousands deserting by the day. The new coalition was under great strain. Following the failed June offensive and general discontent towards the government, the cadets resigned, Kerensky was appointed prime minister, the economy was failing, more strikes and militancy, and a greater social divide. Kerensky saw this as an opportunity to frame the Bolsheviks and destroy their influence over Russia's working class, arresting over 800, including Trotsky, and sending Lenin packing. Furthermore, fake reports leaked of German influence on the Bolsheviks did little to help their reputation.
I called the Moscow State Conference on August 12th. It did little to unify support for my new second coalition. Conservatives instead found their hero in General Kornilov, who advocated for strong military discipline, which I saw necessary to restore order to the front, so I appointed Kornilov commander-in-chief. Kornilov moved units of troops just outside Petrograd to threaten the Soviets. The conservative minister of church, Vladimir Lvov, acted as a mediator to ease the rising tensions as Kornilov and I vied for power. Lvov, as his old muddled self, told Kornilov and I completely different things. Kornilov believed that I had encouraged him to take power, while I... Oh, hang on. Hello, Kerensky speaking. What? Kornilov said what? Military dictatorship? That's it, he's fired!
The situation further complicated after Kerensky impersonated Lvov in an attempt to understand Kornilov's true intentions worsened when Kornilov mobilized his troops by train for Petrograd, feeling that he had to take charge of the situation. Under the stress of Kornilov's impending invasion, Kerensky released Trotsky and the imprisoned Bolsheviks, excluding Lenin, who remained in hiding. They formed the Red Guard, workers' militias who aided Kerensky in the defense of Petrograd. However, the situation was resolved without conflict. The Union of Railway Workers prohibited the advance of Kornilov's troops, who, upon being informed of the situation, refused to advance further. On September 1st, Kornilov was arrested and imprisoned.
You never lock me away. I'll be back, I swear.
The aftermath of the Kornilov affair was that military discipline was worsening. The popularity of Kerensky had plummeted, as did the population of conservatives. And by mid-September, the Bolsheviks had achieved a majority in the Petrograd Soviet.
The army that had risen against Kornilov was the army to be of the October Revolution. That's right! Yeah! To help defend the city against the Germans and counter-revolution, myself and the Petrograd Soviet have developed a military revolutionary committee taking control of Petrograd garrison.
Understanding the dire situation with the rallying Soviets, on the 23rd of October, Kerensky disrupts connections between militant districts of Petrograd, shutting down Bolshevik printing presses and calling for the arrest of Bolshevik leaders. Yet the next day, the Red Guard was able to retake his points of interest.
My Bolsheviks had already planned to take power, and Kerensky's actions gave us the perfect opportunity to take over from the provisional government with little resistance.
With the remainder of the provisional government and their minimal defences cooped up inside the Winter Palace, the Bolsheviks, empowered by the newly returned Lenin, were able to easily capture the Winter Palace and take authority in a somewhat confused and clumsy display of organisation and execution. Members of the provisional government were arrested and taken to the Slammer. Any remaining Mensheviks walked out, leaving the All-Russian Congress of Soviets, effectively leaving the Bolsheviks in power. On the 27th of October, 1917, Lenin announced the creation of a new Soviet government called Sovnarkom. The Bolsheviks had won. A Soviet power had been proclaimed. Things were sure looking up for the peace and prosperity of Russia.